Today's reading is an excerpt from a poem that resonated so deep within me that even to this day has gotten me through many dark times. It is not a happy poem, but it got me through some of the worst times of my life, and at the very end you see the glimmer of hope for that new tomorrow. I bring you Healing by Nao Jones, a queer black poet from Philadelphia. In this poem, she shares her journey to find self-love despite the overhanging darkness of depression and suicide. When I told you that loving you almost makes life worth it, I was not joking. When I tell you that loving you almost makes me forget how much I hate myself, it is not poetry. Loving you is taking all the love I could never give myself and putting it to good use. It is reminding myself that if someone can love a dying thing this way, can hold the Lazarus of my body and give thanks for the way it holds back, if someone can kiss the scars, administer the pills, absorb the bad days, and wake up smiling next to me, then I can try to breathe again. Because self-love does not always come first, or second, or even ever. But your love be the guardrail on the ledge, be the drawer that hide all the sharp things, be the body that carries my collapsed frame into bed, be the flowers you bought. Because even though they are dying too, they still dance. Love will not heal me, will not wipe my slate of a body clean. I will always be a woman of wounds. Love will not heal me, but it will hold my hand if I ever heal myself and maybe teach me a joke that I can stay alive long enough to laugh at. I love you, enough to want to love myself too. Thank you. And from there, we go right into the rest. It is seldom that anyone wants to admit to struggle. But today, more so than any other, I feel it important to bring up. For this month of May, we recognize the obstacles faced by that invisible disease that hinder many of us. I warn you, there are quite a few distressing notes that may be brought up. These will be examples of personal experience, as I have no other than my own. Even though I have had some close calls, I remain steady in my own resolve. If only by the bare skin of my teeth, belly rumbling laughter that resonates from my devilish tiny human at home, and a faint promise for a better tomorrow. I found it difficult to write of my past pain for this sermon, not because of the sensation of hurt, but more that I simply wasn't in that space anymore. That is not to say that the odd episode does not rear its ever ugly head, but I am far more sound in myself, and when I do falter, I have enough safety nets and promises to keep to get me through to the next sunrise. Learning to embrace these darknesses and accept them for what they are without allowing it to rob you too much. Growing up, I was frequently told that if I was unable to love myself, how would I be able to love anyone else? Being plagued with mental disorder from the age of 13, this message rang loudly in my adolescent ears for years. I was diagnosed with depression, anorexia, anxiety, and PTSD all by the time I reached 16. I won't lie that there is much to that time that I have hazy at best memory, lost to the fog that has so frequently plagued me. The words, "I'm broken," entered my mental monologue as the crushing weight of my mind became too much for me to bear. I was tired. I was scared of my own shadow. I was afraid of the light. This gray abyssal form of purgatory was the hell I found myself stuck in when your body has betrayed you on a biochemical level, neglecting to develop enough of the chemical gateway to theoretically regular neuroscience. I held on for the love I felt for others because though my mind said my worth was so minor, I knew I hoped so desperately that this small group of people would at least mourn me. And simply put, I love them enough to not want to cause them that extreme level of hurt. How could one say that my love was worthless because it was not directed at myself? So much love to give, I gave all the love I couldn't give myself, and I gave it a better use in my mind. I knew what love was. It was what gave my cold, dying body a spark of determination to keep going. I thought I was not worthy of love, but God knew that there were certainly people that were worthy, so I gave it to them, and in return, I began to understand that my attachment to them was more of a tether, something to keep me anchored. Surely, if others found me worthy of love, there must be something there for me to love too. I just needed to find it, believe it, welcome it, something. Even as the words pulsated through my mind, I hoped that it was wrong, because if by implying otherwise would mean my love was also broken. And by a professional standpoint, perhaps it was. But it was at least something. I embraced my broken mirror pieces, shattered pieces of glass held together with glue, tape, some mud here and there. I saw an ugly reflection of distortion. But what if I could make it into something more? Something beautiful, something worthwhile. I hoped to hold on long enough to see such a thing. Not necessarily for myself, but to show those that gave me such love what had become of it. I knew love itself would not heal me, for no matter how much someone else could love me, there was still that bare-bones element I needed to provide. The willingness to see it through. The poem written by Neo Jones was a turning stone for me, words that even to this day I can repeat to myself as a reminder, because finally someone had said something that I understood and could agree with. As I knew perfectly well, love could not heal me alone. It could aid me in the journey to love myself, with the will to keep going to find that beauty in me. Even if most days I struggled by it. The words of that poem became a mantra to me, alongside with that of fake it till you make it, hoping that in doing so I could manipulate my mental outlook long enough to get help. Long enough to see that the sunrise upon what felt like such a far away, impossible goal. It would still be a number of years until I could reap what I sow. Healing is never linear, and goodness knew my journey certainly wasn't. But here I remained, and here I stayed, even if barely. Because learning you're broken, accepting yourself for it, and learning to love yourself despite it are easily said but never easily done. It was easier to sink into the oblivion of my own darkness. It took so much effort to look for that light that seemed to evade me. Slowly but surely, time passes, and much like the seasons, things change. My questionable methodology of psychological whim led me to the point where I began to look in the mirror of broken pieces and began to see a person in the reflection that I liked bits and pieces of. Despite the broken pieces, the tiny holes here and there that were forever lost, I was still able to see things that I could appreciate about myself. Began to understand what those around me had known and loved all along. Fragment by fragment, piece by piece, patch by patch, I found new things to appreciate about my broken self. Determined to keep those pieces held close like a flickering flame in the windy dark, I attempted to nurture those thoughts. Began to purposefully look for the tiniest detail to enjoy, and eventually I began to see myself. Not as a multitude of broken pieces, but as a once broken object made whole again. It was during this time that I heard about the concept of kintsugi, the art traditionally used by the Japanese to repair broken pottery. This method used lacquer mixed with a metallic ore, typically gold or silver or platinum, to glue the pieces back together, unifying the broken fragments to one entity again. Instead of ignoring it all together and thrown aside, it's carefully brought to wholeness, not ignoring the cracks that were left behind, even and jagged scars, but accentuating them, bringing attention to the uneven lines that marred the once perfectly whole piece with beautiful panes of gold and silver, not to show that it was once broken, but to show how it was fixed, healed, made whole again, and that is what made it all the more glorious in the end. There is beauty and healing for certain, but to ignore the journey, the circumstances, and lived times is to ignore elements of your own self, ignoring a past you. No version of yourself deserves to be locked away, no matter what they did, what they went through, what they represent. That version still happened. Ignoring it does nothing but weigh upon you. Embracing them is to fully let go. What I'm trying to say is being broken does not define you. It never did, even at your worst, in time, even if it is not now. Take with you the peace and beauty of embracing every aspect of yourself, even the perfectly imperfect, broken pieces, by giving them a new definition. A definition of strength, resilience, perseverance, determination, peace. Love will not heal me, but it will hold my hand if I ever heal myself. Thank you.